What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to some out there. It is the Earthmaster here, still live after a pretty crazy storm last night. It is Thursday, January 5th, 2023. It's about 1:28 p.m. here along the West Coast in Northern California, where it's still raining. Still windy, not quite as windy, though. About 51 degrees or so. Picked up 2 inches of rainfall from yesterday overnight and today so far. Latest earthquake here on the globe shows a 1.4 up into the region of Alaska. Some movement throughout the day today. We'll get to that here in just a second. I got my lights kind of flickering here again. Hopefully the power is not going to go off. But there is quite a bit of power outages out here in Northern California currently. This is the latest look here from the PG&E region. A lot of activity throughout the Bay Area. A lot of customers without power. Here in Northern California, around Chico area, looks like most of the customers have been restored. Certain areas south of town and northeast, up around Paradise as well, seeing some residents without electricity. A little bit on the numerous size. Also up towards the Forest Ranch area, looking like maybe potentially 500 to 5,000 customers affected up in this region. But either way, PG&E has a lot of work to do. A lot of trees down, a lot of power lines down, and they're going to be busy here. And this is not going to end anytime soon. We have another storm system knocking on our door. Maybe not quite as strong. Well, I just thought the power went off again. My lamp, literally my lamp, I have a touch lamp here, and it was on high. All of a sudden, it turned itself down to low. So a little weird stuff going on again. Me and electronics recently. I am not for sure what's up with that, but a little on the crazy side. Okay, so real quick glance here at the full disc from the GOES image viewer. Beautiful storm system that brought us a lot of rainfall, a lot of wind last night. Is getting caught up in the jet stream and headed up north into portions of Canada. It looks like just offshore of the Vancouver Island range there. Yesterday, this thing was positioned a little bit further south and brought us a whole bunch of rain and wind. I think we had a wind about 60 mile per hour gusts here at my place. And I didn't lose any trees. No power lines down here. But again, the power was out off and on for the majority of the night last night. That's why the stream went down. And I kept it down until I was pretty certain that the wind was over. And I think we're okay. Still windy right now, but not as bad. More systems here, folks. Heading into Northern California, there's a train of low pressure systems here that are tapping into a bunch of moisture down south here. That's going to bring further rainfall and more wind into California. We're still looking at some significant rainfall totals here coming up. Let me show you guys at least one model before we get back into the earthquake update. I want to go over here to the precipitation totals here. Total accumulated precipitation. Now this here looks like it includes some of today. And again, we picked up about 2 inches, and it's still raining here. So that's going to add on to it. But I want to bring up here over the next couple days and show you guys a series of storm systems that are going to bring some beneficial rainfall here to California, but also renewed flooding threat. This goes to about the 20th time frame. And there's numerous storms that are lined up here for Northern California. We're getting the brunt of the system again. And look at these totals. Now, you know, this is, you could probably minus out the significant rain that we seen yesterday. This does not include that. So these are additional rainfall amounts on top of everything that we have seen. Around the Chico area, Sacramento Valley, it looks like we could get some areas here in the rain shadow. Looks like maybe that's Colusa County, portions of Yellow County there outside of Woodland. Could get, looks like maybe 5 to 6 inches of additional rainfall. But other areas within the vicinity, including the mountain ranges and up north, potentially around Red Bluff and Redding, could get another 8 to 9 inches. And in the foothills, we got some impressive totals up into the Sierra Nevadas as well, maybe a foot or more of rainfall. And then, of course, snow at the higher elevations. So we have a lot more rainfall coming in, folks, and it's just one storm after another. It's pretty impressive, but we need the rainfall. Minor flooding around here in Northern California. I really haven't seen any major flooding here where I live. There's a couple roads that are closed around the area, the typical back roads, also around the dips. I think the dips are closed, the back way from Highway 45 to the Chico area. So it is what it is. It's raining. We need it, and we'll take it. We just got to be prepared for it. All right, earthquake activity. What's happened overnight? I know the stream was down all night. Let's go ahead and check out Hawaii, where we're still seeing a massive swarm of earthquake activity. Turn off my phone here. And look at this. Kicking back up here. 24 earthquakes in the last 24 hours. Getting some earthquakes in the crater area around Kilauea Volcano. And some movement down below the surface. The deepest one so far looks to be a 2.2 kilometer deep, 1.9 just to the south here. This swarming activity has been pretty consistent over the past week or so. Here's the all magnitudes map. I think it's, I thought we had a little bit more than that, but we got about 76 earthquakes and then some following the stoppage, following the eruption of Kilauea Volcano. Basically came to a halt along with Mauna Loa around the 10th of last month. Still seeing earthquake activity, tilt meters continuing to go up. And obviously it's recharging for the next eruption, but it just seems a little extreme. I didn't think it'd build up this quick, so I don't think we're done yet with the activity as far as the eruption stage there at Kilauea Volcano. Let's see what we have here for updates there from the volcano hazards notification system. Hopefully they're up. I know a lot of times they do go down when there's power outages, and it looks awfully slow for some reason. I know we had that issue last night. Not on my side, but on their side it looks like. This one's working, so we'll see if we can... it doesn't look like there's any other important updates. We have the weekly updates put out on Mauna Loa. That was put out today. Mauna Loa currently not erupting. Webcams show no signs of activity on the northeast rift zone. Let's see here. Seismicity remains low and there is no detectable tremor. Deformation rates have decreased significantly and there's no sign of inflation at this time. But it would sure be nice if I could actually check that myself. And that's normally where I go here to the volcano hazard map in order to see the map that should be here, but it's a little on the slow side for some reason. Some type of network error. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and zoom in here to the Kilauea Volcano. Mauna Loa, we'll go ahead and check out here real quick while we're on it. And because I know they had quite a few seismograph stations that were offline. And yeah, awfully slow. So I want to see what's going on here. Looks like they got a couple of them back up. This is earthquake activity here over the past 12 hours listed up here on this map. Looks like there was one earthquake, probably in the 3 range. That could be potentially around the Pahala area, but local seismic activity looks to be diminishing around the Mauna Loa area. I'm not seeing any type of magma movement signature on that map. The tilt meters up at the summit region. Let's see what we have here. See if I can access one of these. Getting a little bit closer maybe. This one, let's see here, past month. About the time frame when the eruption halted, right around the 7th, it looks like is when it came to a stop there. We've seen that gradual increase in uplift, in tilt, inflation. And that's been kind of ongoing for a little while, but notice the signature. It's up and down on a regular pattern, but there's still consistent uptrend in that tilt. That's a little odd reading. Let's see what we got here for this other. I wanted to see the weekly tilt. Yeah, it seems like about every day or so goes through this typical feature that you see here on the graph. But again, there's an overall uplift in that trend there at the Mauna Loa area. Now, Kilauea Volcano. Let's go over here and check out that. That's where we were seeing that odd reading on some of the seismograph stations. I don't see it Over the past 24 hours, you can kind of see that signature I was telling you guys about. And it's been, we kind of noticed it at least a few times since the eruption halted there at Kilauea Volcano last month. Now, over the past 24 hours, that was from yesterday here. We haven't really seen anything overnight or this morning. There's earthquake activity, obviously, and a lot of it. And more so over the past 5 or 6 hours, some of the smaller quakes there indicating that earthquake activity. Goodness. Yeah, I was standing out in the rain and the wind last night and affecting my voice a little bit today. But hey, we don't get those bomb cyclones all that often, so I will stand out in it as much as I can. But there's earthquake activity here. Definitely some of it being reported by the USGS. No volcanic type magma movement. That kind of looks like something spewing underneath the ground, indicating that signature. And I really haven't heard anything on it as far as the USGS reporting on it. They just claim that the harmonic tremor seismic activity is declining. Let me see here what we got for the tilt meter around the region. Now, these are a little on the choppy side. And choppy, I mean it's intermittent data at some of these tilt meter stations. Although this one looks like it's functionable. So, let's see here. This is a past 2 days. A little bit of a decline here, but then we're seeing an uptrend again, along with an uptick in earthquake activity. So that tells me there's definitely some movement and some brewing underneath this area. Let's see if I can find this other tilt meter. A majority of them are offline for some reason, and they don't seem to acknowledge that they're offline. They claim that they're working properly, and I would not say this is working properly because this is intermittent data, inconsistent. We can't see anything at all. It just looks like a couple scribbles on the graph. But at least they have that one going over here off on the eastern side, or the western side, excuse me, of the crater region. So we'll continue to watch it. Obviously, earthquake activity happening there today. Pretty good swarm. And I don't think we're done with that eruption there at either of the volcanoes. Just a temporary pause. All right, up north into Alaska. Not a whole lot going on. Some very, very typical movement throughout the subduction zone level here of Alaska. Over along the western Pacific plate. A couple earthquakes around Japan overnight and this morning time period. Latest one looks to be a 4.4 near the East China Sea, 127 kilometers deep. That one coming in just about noontime. So we watch these areas. We have seen sufficient deep movement in these regions of the trenches. For example, where this one struck today. But also over here around the Izu Trench and Mariana Trench has shown some deeper movement, but with very little subsequent earthquake activity upstream. Also here, this was last night, it looks like a 4.3, but also deep, another deep earthquake into the area of the northern end of the Japan Trench, 106 kilometers deep. So a couple regions need to show activity here soon. I think the longer we don't see any sufficient activity on these, the larger earthquake it's going to be. Java Trench not showing anything today. Let me see what we got here for the EMSC model. Looks like there's a couple earthquakes, some 2s and 3s on that plate boundary, that trench. Let's see, up north, about the same as the USGS. Definitely seeing some movement down into the Kermadec Trench and a cluster of quakes. Let's go ahead and check this out. Of course, look, nothing showing up here. USGS says it's all quiet, folks. All's good in the hood, right? Well, maybe not the hood, but there is some earthquake activity. Looks like a couple 4s kicking off down there into the Kermadec Trench, North Island, New Zealand, and south here. It looks like maybe around the Alpine Fault. Seen some activity there yesterday. A couple 3s. But these 4s are what I'm after. It looks like a 4.5, 4.4. Let's see here. A couple of those are hard to see. So let's go over to the GeoNet servers and see what we have here in regards to the activity in New Zealand. Just kind of good to go to the source, right? Or at least a localized source that wants to put out the information. Be transparent, right? That's the main thing. Transparency is key. 2.5 off the coast, North Island, New Zealand, 19 minutes ago. There's that 4.5. Oh, let's see. That was about 48 minutes ago. So maybe the USGS, sometimes it takes them about an hour or so to report these international quakes. 4.5, 300 kilometers deep. Now, those were the quakes showing up here on the globe that are raised off of the surface. Those are indicative of some very deep movement into the portion of the Kermadec Trench here. 4.5, and I know we had some other 4s in there as well, right? It looks like it was popping up overnight, but for the most part, I'm only seeing a couple 2s and some 3s. There's a 3.7, somewhat deep. Oh, no, that's not deep. 12 kilometers, just offshore though. 75 kilometers offshore. 2.4, 3.1. Yeah, I'm only seeing that 1.4 in there. So not for sure what's going on with that, but either way, definitely some uptick there in New Zealand and the Kermadec Trench area. The drums here, volcanic drums, showing, well, maybe potentially there was only 1.4, because those 4-pointers sometimes do show up, depending on their location as well. They will show up on seismograph stations, but I'm really only seeing one up here. Some other smaller quakes around the area, but no major movement. So not 100% certain why there's multiple 4s there. All right, let's see what else we got. South America showing some activity yesterday, including now a 4.0. Let's see what we got here from the USGS map. Again, USGS not showing anything yet, but they will get to it. I'm sure they're dealing with a lot of stuff today. 4.2 was the latest here outside of Santiago, Chile. 58 kilometers. Again, all 3 of these deep earthquakes into the Peru-Chile Trench. Hardly, very minimal surface activity up here. And that 4.0 coming in to the area of, let's see exactly where that's at. 4.0 from the EMSC model, Central Peru, but another deep earthquake, 122 kilometers into that trench. So watch the surface areas up here upstream. Those regions can see some rather large earthquakes, and it's been quite active there recently. All right, Puerto Rico area looks like they're having a little bit of movement around the Mona Passage region, a 3.3, 66 kilometers deep. Most of the activity here today, though, around the southern portion of Puerto Rico and our swarm area. Middle America Trench seen in earthquake early this morning, 7:27, into the surface region here of the Middle America Trench, off the coast here of looks like Mexico. Guatemala sits down here a little bit. And let me see what we got here. There's that 5.3. Some further movement down south, it looks like Costa Rica north. Seen some 3s. So that looks like it's going to be the hot spot here today for activity. Over here, the further around the globe, it looks like a 5.9 overnight. Let's see if that was showing up here on the USGS map. Oh, man, it is. All right. Eastern Afghanistan, deep earthquake activity. Seems to be the trend right now. Deep activity all over the place does trend to, or tend to, create these surface stress areas that could see some larger quakes. 5.9, 193 kilometers deep, eastern Afghanistan. Following that, a couple hours later, a 4.4 up north, indicative of pressure in this region. Of course, the pressure map does tend to point towards the north in this area, major subduction zone level. A lot of mountains here in this region, but this one pretty shallow, 4.4. Looks like about 100 miles north of that, 5.9. The rest of the area looks fairly quiet as far as the USGS map goes, and only a handful of earthquakes there from today, the 4.4 from yesterday. Some 2s out there around the Mediterranean region. Atlantic Ocean seeing a little bit of activity from yesterday. We got one 4.4 out here, or 4.9, excuse me, into the Indian Ocean here along this fracture zone. A couple different fracture zones in that area. All right, let's see what we got here for the West Coast real quick. Waiting for this rainfall, heavy rainfall, to get down there and soak these fault systems. We should see some uptick here in the coming days and weeks potentially, as we got, of course, a lot of rain coming in, and could affect some of these faults that are locked. If you look up relation to heavy rainfall on fault systems, it does tend to lubricate them a little bit. If you got that stress built up, locked area down below the surface, heavy rainfall, it does take a little bit of time to soak down in there, can loosen these up a little bit and trigger earthquakes. But today it looks fairly quiet. Not a whole lot going on here. Nothing within the last hour. In Southern California, just a little spotty activity off the San Jacinto Fault Zone, Borrego Springs area. Some very small microquakes. Over here around the Brawley Seismic Zone, a couple very small quakes here. Looks like the largest at 1.7. This was from the majority from yesterday. One more earthquake this morning up around the Salton City area, a little 0.9. San Andreas Fault, the southern segment, looks pretty quiet for now. And who knows what it's going to take to trigger this thing. Could take a regional swarm. It could take a couple earthquakes in the vicinity. Or, a massive amount of rainfall. Southern California getting a little bit, but nothing like we are up here in Northern Cal. But who knows what it would take to trigger that thing. Yellowstone National Park. Looks like there's a little activity south here around Kelly, Wyoming. 2.5 and a couple other smaller quakes. So we're going to check out Yellowstone overview here and see what is being reported. Let's see. It looks like that's occurred fairly recently. A little bit of swarming down here around the promontory area. There's a couple of those quakes showing up here. Locally to the seismograph station. Looks like maybe 6 or 7 earthquakes. And what they report? About 5? Okay, they're missing about 2 of them, but that's okay. More than half, right? At least a little bit is being reported. Better than none. So there's that 2.5 occurring. 10 o'clock this morning at UTC time was 1819. And I think that 2.5 showed up pretty nicely, even up here. 1819, going to be right about here, it looks like. There was another earthquake over here. Looks like overnight, but I don't see the USGS reporting anything here in the area. And that was sorted over, looks like the location was over here around the northwest corner of Yellowstone National Park. That's going to be the more prominent signature. So, yeah, maybe a couple left out there. All right, let's see what else we got. Space weather activity real quick. Looks like numerous sunspots obviously facing the Earth currently. Most recent image here of the magnetic structure of these fields still shows some possibility here from this regional sunspot. There's this massive one coming around the bend, and they believe this one produced an X flare yesterday or on Tuesday night. I believe this area produced an X flare, but it was away from Earth at the time, was not in view. It did shoot out a massive CME, not Earth directed, definitely way away from Earth, but it's a region to watch pretty closely. It does look pretty dynamic, fairly dynamic, and it is large. But that seems to be the trend recently. We get these massive sunspots, and they just really don't want to do anything. But one of these days, we're going to get that massive sunspot directly facing Earth, and it's going to produce a large X flare, and a large CME, and that could be rather interesting for the effects here on Earth. So we'll watch this sunspot. It looks like it's going to be named 3182 once they get around to it. But the current overall threat right now for flaring, 95% chance for a C flare, 35% chance for an M flare, 10 for the X flare category. And we'll continue to watch it. Over the last couple days here, only minimal activity. Now, this duration here, I'm kind of mentioning it last night, this is when they think that X flare popped off. And it didn't register the X flare because it was not facing the spacecraft or the SDO. instruments that monitor the X-ray flux chart. So therefore, it only showed up as just barely a noticeable blip here on the graph, but it was a long duration one. But they believe that was an X flare. As far as Earth-facing flaring, just some upper C flares over the last couple days, but that could change again, folks, with the with that new sunspot. 3182 will be the. It looks like it's named here already. 3182 does harbor 55% chance for C flare, 20 for the M flare, X flare at 5. But we'll get a better look at it as it rotates into view very soon. The 3-day looks pretty calm. Green conditions across the board. A little unsettled conditions right now with some higher latitude auroras up around the Greenland and the Iceland area. Maybe stretching into portions of northern Canada as well tonight. All right, folks, I am going to jump off here, and it's muddy. It is a muddy mess out here. A lot of standing water, and again, we got more rainfall coming in, and it's going to be interesting, but we need it. How long I'll keep saying that, who knows? I'm definitely not going to complain about the rain or the wind because, you know, supposedly we're in an extreme drought. And I lost a couple trees last summer with 115-degree heat and hardly any water, any rainfall over the last couple winters. So we will take it. We will take the rain and the wind. Maybe not the wind, but the rain for sure. It is beneficial for the environment out here. All right, guys, have a good day. Live stream again is up. I don't think it's going to go down. It's not that windy out. Just got about looks like 15-mile-per-hour wind gust out there. Nothing like last night. That was crazy. All right, guys, have a good day. Stay safe out there, and we will chat you guys a little bit later on tonight with the update. Peace out.